Welcome back, folks, to World of Warships Legends. Today, we start the Italian Tech Tree cruisers. And these are some of my absolute favorites. We'll talk about it more later, but let's get into the build. I use Sanzanetti, and we're going to talk about a few things. There is a lot of different options you can do. You can also use Mimbelli if you want to go that route too, but I find these have a pretty good rudder, and that's kind of why I choose these Sanzanetti for this build. So his base trait is incoming damage to cruisers, and we will talk about why I picked these traits for this thing. Beyond range, that's obvious. Now, this is a big one here. Italian cruisers have SAP. We'll talk about that later on more. But if you first unlock the ship, it will have HE. So you probably want to go with this one if you're early on and you do not have the SAP yet. And I do put the torpedo range on them because I mean this one's a good one too. But I have a tendency kind of to know where the destroyers are, particularly in this ship, and we'll explain why in this series a lot as we go. Um, you can also take the punch through, but I actually take the subtle manipulations. I end up running SAP, but again, if you don't have SAP, run the punch through. And then I also run fixated for obviously reasons. Now at tier 3 on Sanzanetti, you're better off to run refill station because they don't have the panic smoke yet, the rolling smoke. Just so that you guys are aware of that. And for upgrades on this, you can do the turret traverse. These don't have very good traverse speeds on the turret, but I always lean towards dispersion. It's always kind of the way I go. Now, this is one difference in the upgrades here, guys, is I generally pick a certain order on cruisers. These ones are a little different because they have SAP. One of these artillery modules or upgrades is SAP. The other is just a little bonus to your damage. I take the SCP. Normally, I take the targeting systems for the extra range, but on the Italian cruisers, I always take the SAP first, then the range, and then the hull upgrade. So let's go ahead and check out the specs on this. It has help. It's respectable. Nothing fancy there. On the guns, you will see the terrible turret time. I mean, we're talking not even good battleship turret traverse, which is at low tiers. I don't really worry about it a whole lot. This is a low tier ship. You're going to get away with more. But you could go with turret traverse build on this and be okay. On torpedoes, they're slow, but they're solid torpedoes. With them being slow, they have good detectability and they reload super quick at 47 seconds. AA defense, pretty solid, respectable for the tier. Maneuverability, this is where this thing shines. And there's a few things about this line I really like, but this is going to be kind of a trait that these cruisers have the whole way through is good speed and good rudder shift time and very decent turning circle radius. And the same thing for the concealment. These things, well, not so much at this tier, but at the other tiers, they will have remarkable detectability by range. You almost want to think of these things as steroid destroyers because that's kind of what they are. Also, in the beginning of this line, they are like cruisers, so they have that really good detectability while firing in smoke. Now, this does not have the Guissano or the Guissano does not have the smoke, but we will have the panic smoke feature in the lines. One thing too, you don't have any choices on the setups. You can run a camouflage, but particularly I don't recommend it low tier. You will probably want to save them for higher tiers, guys. As for my stats in the ship, this is actually quite hilarious because I played three of these battles very early on when I got the game. But you can see these torps will catch people, even though they're slow. You can see a 14% accuracy, which is pretty good for me on a cruiser. And you can see uh, my average battle damage is 42,000, which is solid at tier 3. And that's a good average, being that my max damage is only 49,000. Now, because this is a low tier ship, I did only play one match to try to get a video for it because I do not like Penguin Clubbing at level 3. I know a lot of people will go down to level 3 to boost their win rate. That's not who I am, so I just did the one match to show you how to use this ship. As we go ahead and check the other ships and start this battle, it is disclaimer time. This is a beginner's guide with my opinions on how to play and build this ship to help people who need help. This is not for people who think they already know everything about the game. There isn't just one way to play or build any ship. Also, I am just a above average player, not a perfect player. I make mistakes. You're gonna see some in the game. I'm sure of it. Also, I slaughter beautiful languages as good as anyone. It's almost an art form how great I am at wrecking languages, so prepare yourselves. With that out of the way, now we can talk about the match. I am bottom tier. There is some tier 4s in here, and it is straight, a map that I am not super fond of because you can't really get a whole lot of crossfires. That being said, we have a teammate that's letting us know that he's there, which also makes me realize, oh yeah, this is low tiers. I'm gonna put up my plane because I'm sure people might be doing the same thing on the other side. I don't need the plane with my smoke. We don't have smoke yet in this line. We get that on the next ship. Now, I'll be honest, when I looked at who I was going against, I saw Danae. And I didn't expect to see him. As you see, I have SAP loaded, but this is the one thing I do remember about this match. I played this beginning terribly wrong. You see a Danae, and I do switch to AP right away, but I still don't play this very well as I run into my teammate because I'm really bad at map awareness sometimes. If you see a Danae, whatever you're in, it doesn't even matter. If you're in a rowboat, switch to AP. If you sneeze anywhere near this thing, it explodes. Probably the easiest ship in the game, the Citadel, and that's part of the reason I'm mad on how I played this match. I stay with AP because I'm assuming at low tiers he's going to do something dumb. As we check with our torpedoes, you can see he's turning. And he does. And I totally don't know what I did to really miss that shot. One Citadel there is pretty crazy. I should have went a little higher there as he's angling. And I did not play this right. And I run right into an island. This is the one thing I remember about this battle and not being thrilled with my play here. With that being said, guys, this cruiser line has traits that stay remarkably similar through the whole way through. And I highly recommend getting SAP right away when you can. SAP, these ships with SAP, as you can see, we have AP loaded. We back up, and he has the whole wide-eyed look going to him as we do get our 3 Citadels finally and take him out. At this point, you can see we're super losing this match already. I'm not sure what's happened. Especially at low tiers, this happens a lot. But honestly, it happens at high tiers, so get used to it. A lot of times you just get one-sided matches. So I want to do my best to stay alive. I want to pull out and get angled on this ship before he really, really gets a good shot on me. He's behind the island still. But with that being said, guys, I would highly recommend AP or getting SAP as soon as you can. It makes this ship strong against everything on the map. This line is the one line that really doesn't have a ton of weaknesses, and it has a lot of strengths against other ships once you get that SAP. Now, you can see I shatter a bunch because my two weaknesses are map awareness and seeing what my shells do on the right-hand side. I don't always pay attention to that, and I should. You see, I did make a little adjustment, but I need to be shooting a little higher on this battleship here. But these SAP, back to the SAP shells, if you hit a battleship high in a superstructure or above your armor plate, these things do really good damage. And these things absolutely melt destroyers. In this line, you can see I just shattered a bunch of shells there. So I need to make the adjustment and go higher. I'm going to throw torpedoes out because really on these ships you want to throw torpedoes out between reloads. And again, I don't adjust there. I need to adjust and go a little higher on that ship. But these, you will see when you play this line, when you see a destroyer, this SAP just melts destroyer. It's pretty good against cruisers, but I generally use AP on the cruisers. Especially these low tier 3 and 4, because these shells don't overpin because you're in a light cruiser. It's hard for these to overpin AP wise on these. But you can see over here we're losing. I figured these guys were coming for the cap. It is a 4 versus 2 battle over here. There's also, I think a battleship comes out as well. I'm keeping an eye on that one behind me. But now I want to focus on defending our base. We've been losing this entire match, and we really need to hold this off. As you can see, our destroyer is in their cap, or trying to get to their cap. He does have a battleship up there harassing him, but it's a battleship versus a destroyer. It should be a pretty easy fight. And as you can see here, I focus on the Guissano with armor piercing, and it does pretty well. I probably, in retrospect, because of the way he's angled, I probably should have used AP or SAP. SAP and these things are pretty foolproof. You can pretty much use them on anything if you're shooting at the higher end of ships. At the above armor plate belts on the ships. And as you can see, these guys are just essentially charging right in. So I switch over to AP. Now I focus on the Yahagi. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, because that is a tier 4 ship. Between the two, it's also a little closer, and I want to eliminate him if I can. If he's the best available shot, I definitely want to take him, being that he's tier 4. And they are going straight into the base. And they did actually get rid of our battleship that was in there. And the one thing I didn't do very well is I should have known I was at the end and started turning earlier. And because the battleship is no longer there, I have no spotting. At this tier, that's kind of the good thing about these catapult fighters. You can throw them up and use them as I wait till I can to get reloaded, then throw my catapult fighter up. And while I'm not spotted, I want to close the distance on these guys, because at this tier, you can definitely do a lot of damage with people being broadside to you. You do not want to get too broadside yourself, but these guys generally, low tiers, tier 3, 4, even 5, you'll see a lot of broadsides. So as you can see, I got a citadel there, and we do have to get rid of this guy quickly because there is a battleship coming as well. And you can see he did send out a bunch of torpedoes at me. And Japanese torpedoes are not fun to get hit by. But now it's essentially, I'm not worried about the battleship out at distance. At tier 3, his ability to hit me is going to be super limited with my ability to rudder shift. With my rudder shift, it's just the rudder shift on these is really good. Um, I think that's a battleship that hit him pretty good there, well, which was good to see. He smokes up. So without even thinking, I hit my, even though there was 2 seconds left, I hit my uh, damage control because I want to not get spotted here. I don't want to have this a one-side battle where he can see me and I can't see him. So again, I'm going to use my ability to sneak around, and I kind of want to close the distance a little bit here. I want to keep an eye on him, but my thought here is I want to get turned around here in a second because I want to have a close range fight with another cruiser. I feel like I definitely, and this is another tier 4 cruiser as well, and I want to get rid of him before the battleship. I'm not really concerned about the battleship. The battleship isn't much of a threat to me because these Italian cruisers just dodge shells so very, very well. You can see it slowly. We've kind of changed the way the fight is going. And with him just sitting there with SAP, even because he's angled, you can see a shatter 1, but that's going to change here in a second as I actually do shoot a little bit higher. There you go, right there. And finish him off. Now, this Kaiser, like I said, I'm not worried about battleships in these tiers. They're really inaccurate. So even when they do hit you, a lot of times it's only with one shell. And I just want to get angled to him now. I know his guns are pointed at our battleship, so I'm good to make that turn. And I do make that broadside turn a lot. I'm a little aggressive with it, but especially when I'm not in a threat, I definitely like doing it. Um, but again here, probably could have went just a hair higher. I guess that was a decent shot there with 4 full pins. But you can see it, even on battleships, this SAP is really good. It's really where I like it, is the destroyers and the battleships. It really does pretty well. And it, like I said, it makes it so you basically have a strength against everything you play against. You know, as I kind of a lot of times look at this game as a giant rock, paper, scissors battle. And you can see our destroyers capping, so the match is almost over with a very respectable match. I think I finished top on the leaderboard, which, you know, yeah, 1445. Had some help from the Clemson and the battleship. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and we will see you next time, folks. Have a good one.